Good morning. Thank you for joining the July 5th VOLTHA call. On today's agenda, we have a G.fast presentation for VOLTHA from Adtran. And then following that, with remaining time, we'll pick up where we left off on Tuesday with reviewing new and recent JIRAs. And just a reminder, we do record these sessions to post them later to YouTube on the VOLTHA playlist. So please keep that in mind during discussions and during presentations of material. And with that, I think we're ready to get started for today. So Philip, I think you wanted to make some initial comments.
Yeah, that's fine. Thank you, Julie. We've had one of our system architect colleagues in Germany, Holger Schultz, has been doing some pretty neat work that aligns with the initial comments Andy presented at the VOLTHA lockdown in January, and then the follow-on comments that and presentation I made in Dallas in April. So he's been off doing some investigations and some initial work with G.fast technology integration into VOLTHA. So he's going to present some of that, some light overview, and then a demo today of what he's been able to accomplish so far. I wanted to go ahead and mention up front that, of course, he's working with the current VOLTHA, so the current core and the current way things are done currently, not incorporating technology profiles or any of that. So still, he's adapted some of the pre-provisioned OLT to DPUs and some of the even XPON things, I think. So it'll look as you might expect today, even though we understand these things will have to adapt over time with the new core changes and technology profiles. So that's fine. It'll be something we can adapt to. But I just wanted to mention that we're well aware of that. So at this point, I think I'll turn it over to Holger, and you can take over.
Yeah,
right.
Thanks, Philip.
Yep.
Are you ready for me to give you a presentation rights, Holger?
Yes, I am.
All
Please
right.
go ahead.
There you go. Thank you.
Yep, thank you. So, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Just a second. Okay, yeah, thanks, Philip. Yeah, I guess most of you do not know me. My name is Holger Schultz. I work in Adtran's Berlin office in Germany. I have been part of Adtran's G.fast project since, I think, 2014. I'm a software developer and work as an architect for the Adtran PMAA, which is the Persistent Management Agent Aggregator. So this is this management entity to which a DPU normally connects, which holds all the persistent data of the DPU. And so last year I made my first contact with ONF projects while implementing G.fast driver into owners. And since there's recently more interest in VOLTHA, I just started working now also on VOLTHA and G.fast as well. So yeah, I would like to use the opportunity today to give you an update and mainly to demo some running code together with some real hardware. But I think we should first start with some recap. So as you see, this is something which Andy and Philip already have presented. So as you all know, VOLTHA is very much rooted in abstraction, and the idea behind VOLTHA is to abstract physical interfaces of OLTs, ONUs, to OpenFlow logical switches on the northbound side of VOLTHA. And we at Adtran proposed an idea and still think that this VOLTHA abstraction also fits for G.fast. So on the left-hand side, on the top, you will see what you normally know. So OLTs are modeled as OpenFlow switches, and you have northbound and southbound ports for OLTs, and then for the ONUs or the ONTs. And for G.fast, we want to introduce OpenFlow switches for DPUs as well. So you will have the DPU uplink ports will be the logical northbound switches on on these OpenFlow switches, and the CPEs are then dynamically added as southbound ports to these switches. So here's an example on the top right side, you can see a little setup containing of an OLT. Then there's in the middle, there's an Adtran DPU. This one has an SFP connected to it. This is a PON SFP, which connects to the OLT. This CPU has 16 G.fast ports, and we have CPEs or NTEs or whatever you call it connected to these to the DPU. So what we propose is actually cascaded switches. So on the left-hand side, on the bottom, you see what you normally already know. So you have one logical switch which contains an OLT device and several ONU or ONT devices. And for the G.fast case, these ONU or ONT devices actually correspond to the SFP, which is plugged into the DPU. It doesn't have to be an SFP, which is plugged in. It could also be some optical part, which is really part of the DPU. And then we propose on the right-hand side another logical switch. This time, this contains a DPU device and several CPE devices, so that this logical switch will then have a DPU uplink port on the left-hand side of the switch, on the northbound side, and it will have several CPE ports, which are a normal connected to some RG or whatever. So this is what we already presented to you. I would like to show you a live demo. I want to focus on DPU and CPE integration. So in my setup, I don't have an OLT. Actually, I will use an Adtran DPU, which only has an electrical uplink. It does have 16 G.fast ports. And I will have CPEs connected to that DPU. There will be 4 CPEs. These 4 CPEs will be connected to G.fast ports 1 to 4, so that on port 5 to 16 there will be no modem connected. I didn't do any changes to the VOLTHA core. The VOLTHA version I'm using is still version 1.3. The only thing I did was to add adapters to it, one adapter for the DPU and one adapter for CPEs. So let me just switch to a real system. So I think 5 minutes ago, I just created all Docker containers again and started them. So it's still Docker Compose what is used here to start the containers. I have one ONOS container, which is also running. And I will now use the VOLTHA CLI to connect. So as I told you, there are 2 new adapters added to, this is the Adtran CPE adapter and the Adtran DPU adapter. Normally, a DPU will get its own IP address by using DHCP. So it will send a DHCP discover message to some DHCP server. The server will respond with an offer and will offer an IP address to the DPU. At the same time, the server will probably offer an IP address for the PMAA as well, so that the DPU afterwards will open a connection to that PMAA. And then the PMAA will set up an SSH session to the DPU and a netconf connection to the netconf server, which resides inside the DPU. In my example here, I will use a static IP address for the DPU. So there's no DHCP. And at the same time, there's no one who's waiting or receiving the call home request from the DPU. So in this example, we will set up the connection directly to the DPU by using the pre-provision OLT command. So as I said, I didn't do any changes to VOLTHA, so the only command which is currently available for me is this pre-provision OLT command. I specify Adtran DPU as type of it, and then the IP address. This is the one which I statically configured. At the same time, I want to start a receiver or a Kafka consumer for events which are sent to the Kafka bus. The DPU is sending alarms and notifications to the adapter. I will start soon, and I am just forwarding these alarms to Kafka so that they could be used at the northbound interface from VOLTHA. I will show this later, but I will just start the adapter, the consumer here. Then I will pre-provision my my DPU, I'm sorry. I will enable it. This takes some time, which I think could still be optimized. And now, I think everything you see should be very familiar because it's not that much different from what you already know. So you can see here the ports of the device. This is the device view, not the logical device view. So this is, I showed you a logical device containing a DPU device and the CPU device. So this is now the DPU device we are seeing here. You can see 17 ports. This is the uplink port. This is active, and you can see 16 downlink ports. And these ports are all failed. Why are they failed? The DPU I'm using was just rebooted before our meeting, and it doesn't have any configuration. Mm-hmm. So, yes, was there a question?
No, I just...
Okay. It didn't have any configuration, so there's no way that any of these ports can go in upstate. So what the adapter currently is doing is it is sending a default configuration to the DPU. This configuration is stored in the adapter, and this configuration will configure the port. And afterwards, if there is a modem connected to that port, that modem will start to train, and this port will go in an upstate. And if we look at the alarms again, we can see here that after the startup of the DPU, every port got a major alarm, which means it is not up. This is the normal operation of our DPU, so it's sending a major the fault alarms first for any system which is northbound of the DPU to synchronize, and later on it is sending cleared alarms. Cleared means that now the port is up. So in principle, we can see that we have 4 CPEs connected to that DPU, and we could create a CPE adapter. I will also show you that all the normal stuff is somehow working. So you can see it's a DPU. You can see the model of the DPU. You can see the serial number of the DPU, the IP address. You can see which software image is currently running on the DPU. And so this is all you can see for the DPU device. Then there is one logical device which was created when I created the instance of the DPU device. This is this one here. So here you can see that there is currently only one port connected to that logical device. And this is because I did not connect any CPE device to that logical device. I only connected one DPU, I'm sorry. And this is what can be seen here. So you can see the speed of the uplink interface. This is the name of it. This is on the DPU, it's called Gigabit Ethernet 0/1. You see the device ID. So this is all you normally see. Now, I told you that we have 4 modems connected to it, which did train. So now I want to create devices for these CPEs as well. In order to do so, I use again the pre-provision OLT command. I have to specify the logical device ID so that these can be connected. So this is something what we see here, which doesn't have to be done on the VOLTHA as a pre-provisioning act. So we think that this should be done when the notification you have seen, or the event in Kafka, was received by something on the northbound interface. So it could then create the CPE adapter. After enabling, we have now a second device, which is the CPE device. It does have two ports, a UNI port and an NNI port. You can see that the NNI port is connected to some other port, and this is the port 2 on the this is the DPU device. So you can see that those are connected. And when you now do a show, you can see some information about this device. So it's the Adtran CPE. This is obvious, but you can also see that the vendor is Scipio. You can see the serial number of that device. And the interesting part here is that this information was actually acquired by the device itself, and it was done in a way which is not that different from the PON part. In the PON part, the ONU adapter is sending messages, OMCI messages, to the OLT adapter, and I also used inter-adapter communication. I mean, I used inter-adapter communication this here. So the CPE adapter is actually communicating with its peer DPU adapter and the specific device, and the device is then, so the CPE adapter is sending a message to the DPU adapter in order to get the software version or to get the serial number. And so then the DPU adapter is sending this information to the correct DPU, the one for which it's holding an ADCOM session. Then the DPU adapter is receiving that and is forwarding it again to the CPE adapter. So this could be used, I mean, this is used here for gathering this data, but this could also be used, for example, for updating the CPE. You could simply use the update commands, and then the DPU adapter could send these commands to the corresponding CPE devices so that they can be updated. So in ONOS, if you connect to ONOS, you can also see the device. I mean, which is not, this is what you expect. So you have the device here. You can see the software version, whatever. In principle, you can see the ports, but somehow I only see one port. So somehow this is not working. I can see all the ports in the logical device, but somehow it is not shown here. And I still have to figure out why this is the case. And in addition, no, I think this is all I wanted to show to you. Are there any questions?
How about on the ONOS,
Yep.
instead of using GUI, using the CLI, would the information be a little different?
Sorry, that, or do you want to?
No, I'm saying instead of using GUI, I'm just wondering, are there any flow already created?
No,
you know,
no, they're not. No, they're not. Mm-mm.
Oh,
This is one setup. He's not using some of the applications and those kind of things yet. That will all be the same behaviors. We're just trying to show you the incremental step from a management and device connectivity, etc.
Okay.
So that'll be at a later date where we show you that. We expect it to be all 100% aligned. Again, the process that we're going through here is keeping it as much like the OLT, ONT as possible, even though there are some areas that we think some optimizations could be made. What we want to do is bring G.fast in alignment with the OLT ONU and move everything together in a general access node type perspective. And
Okay.
to use it, identify where we wish to make changes.
Okay. Okay. Can you go back to the? Sorry, the echo. Go back to the VOLTHA and then show the DPU device again. And I just want to see whether the port connected to the CPE now should be up, right, instead of failed.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry. This is actually something I forgot to show you. So good that you ask.
Show all the ports on the DPU device, right?
Yeah. So
yeah. Okay. Now you have 4 active.
Yes, but I don't know. Perhaps I shouldn't tell you, but actually I cheated. So you can see here that that the sorting is different now. I think when I showed you this display the first time, we had the 4 southbound ports, 1, 2, 4 at the top. So
right.
Yeah, I think there is something missing in VOLTHA because there's no interface to update a port of a device. So there's simply no function to update it. So for this demonstration, I simply removed the port and added it again in response to the notification I got from the DPU in order to show it to you. So I think there's something missing. Perhaps somebody in the call can tell me that there is something, but I think I couldn't find it. So I also looked for newer code. Perhaps this is not a typical use case for PON.
So you're saying you actually removed the south pump port?
Yes, just to show. I mean, I removed it and I added it again with exactly the same parameters, just setting the OPA status now to active, because I couldn't find any function to do that in VOLTHA.
Oh, because you're saying it's not automatically refreshed when it's connected, right? Automatically updated when it's enabled. So basically, you.
Yes, I mean there's simply. I think there's a function. For example, there's a function called update logical port. This is simply there, but there's no function update port. So this is. I think this is missing.
Okay.
So yeah.
Well, maybe pose that question in the VOLTHA discuss and see whether people actually responded to that.
I mean, if I understand what you're trying to do, I know that works with ONTs. Did you look at OpenOLT?
No, not yet. So okay.
So that's, I think, where the most forward work is.
And so it's which version of the VOLTHA is the 1.3, 1.4, or
1.3? It's 1.3.
Okay.
Yeah. But as I said, I did not change anything on VOLTHA, and I do not expect any required changes to my adapter when moving to a newer version. So as far as I know, the interfaces are kept as they are, right?
Right.
Yep.
Hi, this is Amit.
Want to say something?
Yeah. So when you said the CPE adapter, right? So is this an adapter for the G.fast modem that's connected to the GPU?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. And what are the kind of things that we are really controlling on the modem? Then where can we get more details on this?
For example, you could do an update. Sorry, the echoes. So you could do an update of the software on the CPE, for example.
Inventory query, as well as the management of the software, are the two things that a simple CPE can handle, and that's what Holger has shown here today. And that's all through the control panel or the control path that rides on top of G.fast. If the RG, if it was more of an RG, a G.fast RG, then there would be additional functionality because that IP address, it could have an over-the-top IP if it was a TR69 managed, or it could be managed in more complexity over the control. And so by making it a separate device adapter, we allow the flexibility to align the adapter with the capabilities as well as vendors. So if there's a third-party G.fast CPE/RG vendor that wishes to create an interface, they can do so regardless of who the G.fast DPU vendor is, allowing the abstraction between those two, allow the functionality to those that wish to contribute can do so in a fashion that aligns with their capabilities.
Okay, thanks. One more question I had. So the PMA functionality, right? So like assignment of IP address to the DPU and configuration of the DPU, that has been done through by the adapter, or is the adapter talking to something outside of it to get this done?
No, this is entirely done by the adapter.
Okay.
There's no PMA.
Yes, and we do not expect to have a PMA here, even not for other functionality. So.
Okay, and I think the not bound of the DPU is the Ethernet NNI being used, right? So if the PON were to be used, so that would mean DPU integrated with an ONU, then correspondingly the OLT adapter and the ONU adapter would come in picture, right? So
yes, exactly.
Yeah. So have you done any like trials with that or any thoughts on that?
No, we haven't done. So this is what is shown here in this example. So I only showed this part, the right-hand part side, so the right-hand adapter. And if you have a real OLT and an ONT SFP, then you will also see the second switch.
So with regards to the integrated, so this diagram shows an ONT SFP, right? An ONT on a stick, and there would be no change to what was shown here today, with the exception that the backhaul would be an OLT ONT, and you'd have 2 logical devices and 4 physical devices in VOLTHA. If the DPU has an integrated optics from an ONT perspective and the MAC, etc., if it is a Model 1 DPU, as standards define, there would be no change to this description either. And so the same picture would be applicable. What we show here is not for Model 2 type deployments. A Model 2's DPUs is a significantly different exercise and isn't aligned with what we're showing here.
So indeed, so later on, when the CPE, like for example, the physical sync characteristic between the CPE and the DPU port, so those will also be defined by using the technology profile. Is that correct?
The technology profiles, as they define things within PON and ONTs, that same modeling can absolutely be used for the G.fast access. And so we're watching that and thinking about how that would apply to G.fast. We don't see anything that's in conflict right now, so yes. There are many solutions to that problem, and so we're trying to align G.fast to the rest of the solution, right? From onboarding and backhaul and flows and those kind of things. And with the anticipation and expectation that however technology profiles or whatever that is that applies to the PON will then also apply to the G.fast. So that's not our focus area right now, but we are tracking.
Okay. And by the way, the page 4, what is that picture? I think there's a very old device there. I wonder what that is.
It's a Commodore pad. I think it's a computer from the 70s. So I don't know. I had a Commodore 64, but this is even ways older than this one. Yeah. Okay,
but you're not using this for your demo, right?
No, I'm not using this for my demo.
Okay.
In Berlin, you have all sorts of crazy shops, and recently I saw some of these in a shop, and I just liked the design, and so that's why I used one.
Okay. One thing I maybe the community was working something, you know, of course, you know, we keep using pre-provision OLT, and then we use the same command pre-provision OLT for the DPU, pre-provision OLT for the CPE. So that can be a little bit confusing, but anyway, so it's just my personal regarding to the commands itself, but
yes,
we
but
agree
here,
with you, Sean. And so we're actually we didn't want to create additional commands because as you have new technologies, if you recall, if we do fixed wireless or 5G or other aspects into this, you don't want to have unique commands for all of those behaviors, right? The delta should be within the profiles, and so the reason we used it is to show that it's possible. And now that the DPU G.fast technology is somewhat aligned with the PON technology, simply changing that to pre-provision access node or some other,
and then you define what type,
would apply, and then it would be less confusing and more generalized.
Like pre-provision, and what's the device type you want to prefer, like OLT, you know, so now the OLT become a parameter instead of, you know, part of the name of the command.
Correct.
No, this is good. Good to be able to see this firsthand, you know, while it's still baking.
Yes.
Anybody else has any comments?
I thought it was great too, Sean. I really did. Thank you.
Is that Philip? You're saying that?
I did. I thought they did a great presentation.
Thank you,
okay.
Andy.
Yeah,
Thanks,
thank
Andy.
you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Is this something potentially with the BBWF Adtran may thinking about demoing?
It's a possibility, yes, sir.
Okay, good.
Have you done a connection where you have both the OLT as well as the G.fast stuff? So you have the two logical switches?
No, not yet.
We have conceptually for certain aspects, but Holger has not run his exercise over the top of that. But if we did demo it, we would show from the similar what a point-to-point Ethernet as shown today, as well as what a PON backhauled would be.
Okay.
But yes, there's nothing here that prevents that from happening.
David, did you?
No, I mean, it looked very good, so I was very, very impressed. I just was just curious how far you'd gotten on that front.
There's a couple different use cases, David. So, I mean, you could cascade like the slide 3 shows, but you could also have two directly connected so that you really show two different access technologies live in parallel that are unrelated, essentially.
Yeah.
Pretty neat.
Right.
Cool.
Yeah, that'd be a good way to test different technology profiles too when we get to that point for different technologies.
Well, no, I mean this is definitely put the G.fast on the table. So even though I think the VOLTHA 2.0 we don't have G.fast schedule, right? So potentially it will be 3.0 features. But I think this is you know, but at least we can see some, you know, as I said, it's on the table now, so that's great.
I also wonder though if this calls into question, we do need to make some of those command changes to make them more generic for the 3.0 time frame.
Yeah, for 3.0 or 2.0. Sorry,
2.0. Sorry.
2.0.
This also brings some interesting concepts into play that we haven't been faced with, which if you think about the cascaded scenario where there's a DPU behind an ONU, it really is going to be more, I think it's going to be more of an auto discovery scenario instead of pre-provisioning, because you don't know what's behind the ONU. It could be an RG like our normal use case, but if it's a DPU, it needs to find a way, we need to identify a way to auto discover that. I think I touched on a little bit of that in Dallas. But in that case, it's going to really have to go to a higher layer, I think, with some sort of a notification with enough information in there to be identified. Maybe it identifies via serial number or something, and then there can be a call to either pre-provision it based on that discovery or something like that to launch the right adapter.
Right.
I think in general, the more discovery we can get, the better we are, right? Any commands that have to come top down is going to be a problem.
Exactly.
And I did invite the Scipio to come to a call this time. I did mention you guys is going to do some demo, but I don't see them on too. But I think this is what am I trying to say? This is and this is the first G.fast technology right now being introduced under VOLTHA. That definitely anybody else has G.fast experience can also provide some input on this one. One thing I guess PMAA is playing some role in the background for today's demo, right?
That is inaccurate, Sean.
That's inaccurate.
PMAA. The
PMAA
really? Functionality will become part of the VOLTHA as displayed today, as well as northbound systems that would push technology profiles, etc. So no, there is no PMAA. The PMAA has been dissolved, and that functionality is placed into VOLTHA drivers and or northbound systems now.
Yeah, dissolved and redistributed throughout the new system.
Oh, okay. That's good.
The functionality holds. The Persistency Management Agency still holds, but VOLTHA is now where some of that config is stored, right? The per device configuration is stored. And so if a reboot of this DPU occurs, it will come back with nothing stored locally, but upon the VOLTHA will resync it just as it does with OLTs, etc. Right?
Okay. So okay. So in the usual case, when you reboot the DPU, the PMA will be engaged, but right now that role of reprovision or getting the configuration back is right now is part of the VOLTHA function.
Correct. So we have not abandoned the concepts of PMA. We have just redistributed that functionality into other implementations, including VOLTHA.
Is netconf being used anywhere in this demo?
Yes, the southbound of this device driver is communicating via netconf because we did not want to force the specific device to change. So Holger, if you go up to one picture on slide 3, this same device that's shown here, this 516, is used under a PMAA and could have been managed under a PMAA in this physical deployment with historical management solutions, and then migrated to this without changing or replacing that physical device. We didn't want to change the northbound of the device in order to show that you could move this. So an incremental change. Change your software stack in the cloud without actually changing the device at all. Over time, that device also has its own evolutionary path to other interfaces and such, but this demo and this description does not force any changes on the device.
Good. Anybody else has any comments? Again, thanks to Adtran to bring the G.fast to the light. So now we can seriously thinking about the VOLTHA is not just for the OLT anymore. Okay, Julie, back to you.
Right. Thank you. So Adtran, Holger, thank you for the demo and the discussion. And
thanks for having me.
Yes, I'll take presentation rights back. Hopefully I will take them back here. Let's see.
Oh, I can hand it over to you.
I think I've
okay. Yeah, you managed.
There we go. Thank you. Okay, and is everyone seeing just make sure we can see my screen again? So you can see the agenda that I had up previously.
Yes.
Is it visible? Okay, thank you. All right, I think where we left off, approximately where we left off on Tuesday on reviewing the new issues was back at Vol 1066, and I did see that Stefan had put some updates in there related to the version. So thank you for that. I think before I dive into kind of going up the list and trying to get us caught up on the review, I just wanted to open it up to see if there are discussion topics on specific JIRAs that the technical team would like to go into before we just start the review of the recent issues. Are there any particular JIRAs that you would like to look at or discuss first?
Well, there's that one that we discussed the last time, the blocking one regarding the, I forget the number.
And I've
1047?
Yeah, 1047.
You got this. Okay. It should be showing on the screen now.
Yeah, so I ran, it's been running for a couple of days, and I had no issues in my environment. So my question was, is it possible to get more details in terms of what can be used to reproduce this problem? Because I'm unable to have the same behavior. So it's been working pretty well in my environment, so I don't know what else needs to be done.
So there was talk on the email list about resource settings being different when VOLTHA started up. I don't know if that is playing into this or not. Rich, you had some comments on that? That you were going back and forth with Gopi. Is Rich on?
Yes, yeah, I'm on. Yeah, no, the manifest, the deploy manifest for VOLTHA was stale. That's all. So you've got to pick up the stateful set version. Otherwise, if for any reason one of the vCores loses leadership and a new one comes up, everything will appear to stop working. So that may explain what's been happening there. But definitely, and I think Gopi's done this. He's created a patch to refresh the Helm charts so that they are synced up with
yeah, the problem is they're still failing Jenkins.
So, from your estimate, it's looking like
They're still failing Jenkins. Gopi's patch set is failing Jenkins verify.
Yeah. Yeah, if you scroll up, there's a link to the other JIRA.
this joins with the same and just add one.
Right there.
Okay.
So, can you share your where the file is?
Okay.
Can you click on the -1 at the bottom of the Jenkins so we can look at the I guess we could do this offline. It'd be down at the bottom. The question is it something Gopi needs to address or something else? Yeah.
The other thing is that I've been running with those changes over the last couple of days, and when I came in this morning, my cluster had still hung. The thing is, I'm not sure if what I see is exactly the same as what Don and Luca have been seeing. We have two different JIRA tickets that seem to show different logs. But I'm seeing it hanging in the way that I've always seen it hanging, where I see log messages from OpenOLT threads, but no log messages from the main thread. And this is running with Shad's latest fix and with Gopi's Helm chat patch.
Okay. So two issues, and understanding why we're getting this Jenkins failure with the Helm chart patch, and
yeah, it's,
get that passed. Is that what's the issue there? I guess, and maybe we want to take this offline. I don't know if we want to solve it here in this meeting or not.
Yeah, I can work with Gopi on the Jenkins issue.
Okay. The other one would be, how do we make sure or understand the differences between the environment and the tests you're running to see the issue, as well as Donald, and the environment and tests Stefan's running where he's not seeing them?
Yeah, so I guess one thing is, one of the differences seem to be Helm charts versus the sort of normal Kubernetes resources, right? So I don't know, I wonder if you guys would have time to test using the Helm charts and seeing if you still see things are fine, or if you still see the issue after some time.
Okay. So you're still starting, Stefan, you're still starting VOLTHA without the Helm charts then?
I am no Helm in my environment.
So can you try to run with the Helm charts? Do you have time for that, or?
I guess I'll need to set up my environment for that, but can look into it.
Okay, I think we need to look in that and also verify we're running the same version of Kubernetes as well.
Yeah. I'm running one.
And how is the system being loaded? Because we're sort of running in a quiescent mode, right? It's just no load, no devices being created, right? So that's
yeah, for me, there's very little load as well. I started up and I add one OLT and provision flows on it, and then I've just left it. So there should be no load on the system apart from the sort of, the quiescent load. So there'll be things like, OpenOLT is now pulling stats from the hardware and writing them to etcd periodically. So there is some load on the database, but not a huge amount.
So this is the idea of the emergency. It's the same. And then you look at the size.
Yeah. So John, I was asking about, do we somebody needs to mute. Thank you. Are we expecting those stats to just be a single copy, just refreshed, or because when I was looking at that, we seem to be adding about 200,000 records a day, and random sampling. It's like it's the same statistics for us. Just because we got no traffic going across it, but we just have one OLT and one ONT, and etcd is getting big. And this morning I went to count, and the actual just the get keys command fails because it takes too long. So and maybe it needs to be rationalized. I don't know. But etcd is not necessarily the first time series database I would choose.
Yeah, I think if that's happening, that's definitely a problem. And it may be, I'm not sure how the sort of the database library in VOLTHA is working. It's possible that it's never actually deleting keys. It's just sort of adding new ones and updating references.
Yeah. Okay. Well, when I was digging into it, it looked like it was mostly an XPON, so it's a short-term problem, really. So I don't know if we have to really dive into that, but we need to, as we move forward, when we're pulling XPON out, try to use etcd for what it's good at, and if we need a time series database, which I think we probably do, there's better tools for that.
Yeah, although I'd argue that VOLTHA should be just publishing time series data for some external system if we to deal with that data. I'm not sure that VOLTHA should be more than a source of time series data for most things.
Right, I agree.
Not all.
But yeah, as soon as the Helm chart merge happens, we'll refresh ours and start over with the test.
Okay, and John, I heard that you were going to work with Gopi on the Helm chart issue with Jenkins.
Yeah, we can figure that out.
Okay. And sorry, I think Don, you were speaking.
No, I was going to ask the same question.
Oh, okay. All right. All right. So Jonna, once you have some more info on that, if either you or Gopi could update Jira or send some sort of notification, that would be great.
Yeah, when we merge the patch, we can update this ticket.
Great, thank you. Other discussion on this item for today? Okay. Are there other specific JIRAs that the group would like to jump to before we go on and kind of continue the review of the recently opened one? Okay. I'm not hearing anything, so I think I'll switch back over here and pick up where I think we had left off. So 1066, we briefly talked about that at the start. We had the update there on the from Stefan on the version. And then this next one is related to Celestica, and this is adding the manufacturer to ONOS and master in order to automatically load the VOLTHA driver. And so Luca is working that issue. And it looks like, Jonna, you've had some discussion with Luca here on this. Is there anything else we need to discuss on this item today with the group?
No, I think it's a pretty simple resolution.
And then the next one is for PMC microsemi ONU, making it compatible with multiple devices. I think we briefly talked about this one last time as well. Okay, so I think nothing there. Next one is changing the PMC ONU adapter name to something else. So once it supports multiple adapters. Okay, so that one is in that same batch of issues. Next, we go into some new defects. And the first one is 1070. If MAC address option is used at VOLTHA CLI, only lowercase can be input, uppercase not recognized. And Sean, I think this one's assigned to you again, probably to reassign to someone else. I'm not sure. So do we know any questions from the group on this item?
I think that's probably very easy to replicate.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll ask Venkata to take a look at this one too also.
And Venkata, I think, is on the call today.
Yes.
Venkata, is this one I could assign to you?
Yeah, okay.
Okay, thank you. All right, thanks. And then when you start looking at it, we'll move it into the sprint. Okay, next one, Vol 1071. And this is create the, I think we talked about this one briefly before, maybe I'm wrong. The Celestica OLT ONU installation and debug page on the guide.opencore.org. And so it looks like there is something in there in Garrett on the docs for review. Questions on this item?
Is that assigned to Luca? Okay.
So Luca, yeah.
I'll see what I can take a look at those too.
Okay, thanks. And then the next one, 1072, unknown indication type being sent by OpenOLT driver. Shad had opened this one and assigned it to himself. It looks like this one is merged. So any questions from the group? Okay. Then the next one is a new story for the OpenOLT throttle LOS status indication. And this one I think Shad had assigned to himself as well. Any questions from the group? I think it's
I don't know.
Yes.
What's the origin? So what the issue is it's keep going. The loss of signal has been keep sending it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Shad is saying that the bell keeps sending this LOS indication even when things are fine. It's basically saying LOS, but the signal is up, like periodically every second or so.
Keep sending those.
And so it's, I think, working with Broadcom to figure out how to do this, so it's only sending an update when there's a status change.
Right.
And then as a workaround in the meantime, this story is to throttle the indications until the fix from Broadcom is in. That's what or the direction on how to resolve this is in from Broadcom.
Okay, so so raise Broadcom. So maybe the ticket has not been raised yet.
Yeah, I'm not sure, and I don't think I saw Shad on here today.
Okay.
So I think once it'd be good to track the Broadcom ticket in here as well once we have that info available, so we can link to it. Other questions on this item?
And I think the Mike from Foundry is also looking at this one also. So I'll make sure Mike aware about this ticket.
Okay, thanks. Other questions on this item? Okay, and then the next one is 1074, PONSIM evaluating flows in wrong priority order. And this is opened by Jeffrey Van, and actually assigned it to himself as well. I think I saw Jeff on here today, I'm not sure. Okay, so let me see if who we've got on the bridge. Actually, no, I don't see Jeff on here. Okay, so this is on PONSIM, and the change would be so that things are flows are installed in the order of decreasing priority, and he has a reference to the. I don't see anything in here. It might just not be showing on my screen. But he has a reference to the line approximately where the change would go in. And so this one is in the to-do state, but I'll see if we can follow up later to see if that's going to happen in Sprint 4. Questions before I move on? The next defect is 1075. Updating flow table can cause error, and this was another one opened by and assigned to Jeff. Let me look at the description again. I think flow table can cause error. Okay. So it's adding a check to see if self-flow changes is equal to none or not. All right, any questions on this item that we need to take back to Jeff?
I think he already signed it to himself, right? So
he did, yes.
Yeah. The Jono, has he worked on this one with you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Next item is new task 1076, the CID OLT adapter integration. And
wow. Okay.
yeah, I think
I guess
I see you on the call.
Yeah, I think Ling, Mr. Trey, you're going to put this in now, right?
Going to submit the code to the local repo in a way. So this is a placeholder for the mission. Do you have any question?
No, no, good. Adding another OLT over here. That's
It looks like this is targeted to go in for 1.4.
Yeah, so currently the submission, the 1.3 is finalized, right?
Current version is 1.3. 1.4 has not been cut. I think the 1.4 will be cut once the VOLTHA CLI hang. You know, those two major tickets it will be resolved. John, that's the plan, right? So those two need to be resolved before we can release 1.4.
Which ones?
The
hanging?
1030, the hang thing.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Okay.
I mean, are you guys ready to put it in the 1.4?
So is it preferred to provide this in 1.3 or 1.4? I mean, either it's all right for us. So
okay. Okay. Maybe I'll talk to you offline on this one, because I think maybe the one, if you still require time to do this, you may not be able to do it 1.4. So maybe have to be post 1.4. I think right now, maybe if there's no, I would suggest to be after 1.4. I do want to have 1.4 have a very stable release and fully tested. So let me work with you on that offline.
Okay.
So Sean, you'll speak with Lynn offline to coordinate on the appropriate placement for this.
Yes.
The timing it's a little tight right now. Okay.
The timing is tight.
All right.
Yes.
Thank you. And good to see this coming in as well. Next item, 1077. PONSIM doesn't differentiate between trap and NNI flows. This is again reported by and assigned to Jeff. And right now, all packets arriving from ONU to the OLT are forwarded out through NNI port, regardless of whether intended destination is core or an external network. And
yeah, this is actually the VOLTHA core is changing the ONO sends trap flows, which the way the output port is set to the controller, but then the VOLTHA core changes that to the NNI port. So I think most adapters are kind of inspecting the flows and understanding which ones need to be forwarded to the controller, but the PONSIM just pushes flows directly down to PONSIM. So I think to make it consistent with other adapters, we need to add some logic in the PONSIM adapter to differentiate between packets that are meant to be trapped into the controller and packets that are meant to be forwarded out the NNI port.
so John, Jeff's not on right now, but it sounds like you've been working with him. So I was going to ask, do you know which of these new defects that were open for PONSIM are planned for Sprint 4? I'm guessing this one is, since it's a high priority item, but
yeah, I think most of them should be planned for Sprint 4.
Okay. So I'll move those in afterwards so I don't take the time up here. Thank you.
Yeah, I think all of these PONSIM issues are really need to be solved in order to be able to have PONSIM with an NNI port being able to emulate data traffic.
Okay. So I'll move those over after the call to Sprint 4. Thanks. Okay, the next item is another one here. Data flows do not match untagged traffic. And this is another PONSIM issue. Data flows not being matched to untagged packets coming through ONU to the OLT, as they are expecting a VLAN vid to be present. Packets on data plan are not necessarily tagged, so those need to be able to be handled by PONSIM. Any questions from the group? Okay, then the next item, 1079. This one was reported by and assigned to Nick, and this is OpenOLT alarms treatment structure. And it looks like there is some material in Garrett up for review right now as well. So let's take a look at that quickly. And okay, Shad's not on right now, but Shad is showing up as the reviewer for that. Okay.
One question is, what does this ticket mean? Moving the alarm treatment in a different file, updating portal with more alarms. So there's a alarm treatment. So is an external file involved? Oh, there's a Python file there.
Okay.
Don, are you still on?
I am on.
Okay. This is Nick's ticket, right? So is there something okay, so I think there's a difference here. Okay.
Big difference.
This is adding an alarm. Okay.
Yeah. Do you guys need any community comments on this one, or just have them review it or something? Actually, it's part 174. That's pretty good. What I'm saying is, you just include more alarm right now into the file, right?
Yep.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. Any other questions? All right. Then the next one, 1080, thread refactoring in OpenVOLTHA adapter. This one was reported by Saurav and assigned to Shad. And, this has some material in there as well. Looks like it's still work in progress. And just some preliminary discussion. Okay, so let me go back here. Any questions from the group on this item that we need to take back to Shad? Okay, the next one, 1081. Cluster coordinator's leadership tracking loop stops working. And this is a new one opened by Richard yesterday. An etcd KV store used by 3-node VOLTHA cluster is heavily loaded. Leadership tracking loop on one or all vCore instances has been observed to stop working. And then when that happens, vCore instance can no longer cease leadership. Oh, Richard, were you going to make a comment?
Yeah, actually, this was thanks to Donald Newton. I was looking at the code, specifically the etcd version, and I actually, as I was inspecting the code, I found this problem, and especially when I compared it with the console version. So either there was a port error, or something was added to the console version, but it was not added to the etcd version. Now, this may explain the hanging problem, but only if etcd is heavily loaded. Now, we have noticed that when etcd is highly stressed, that it does go bonkers. It'll throw exceptions, and if an exception is thrown during the leadership tracking loop, then it will stop working. If something goes wrong, a new leader will not be acquired, and the system will sort of stop to work. So it is related to the hang problem, but only in cases, in my opinion, only in cases of etcd stress. I actually have the solution, but I'd have to do a lot of testing. I'm not sure if it's going to solve the hang problem.
Okay. So I think since it sounds like
Hey, Richard, sorry. Can you share your solution with me, and I'll help test it as well? Is it just in the one file, the coordinator file?
It's in one function. I can. This is.
You can put it. Yeah. Either put a comment here, and I'll implement it as well.
How do we get the code to you?
I was just saying, just put the, I don't know, email, or you can make a comment here. mean, how big a change is it?
It's basically the entire size of that method. Everything has to be wrapped into a try except finally block, so everything gets indented in. Yeah, the whole function changes.
Okay, well, if it's not doable, but you could mail me the function and I can just merge it into a local copy and rebuild.
Okay.
Okay, and let me see here. So, Richard, should I move this one into Sprint 4 as well?
Is that the next sprint?
That's the currently active sprint.
Currently active sprint, and how many weeks left in the currently active sprint?
It goes until the 20. Let's see. Let me check the date here. It goes until the 20th of July, so about 2 weeks left.
Okay.
Do you think that's sufficient time for the testing?
Yes.
Okay, so we'll target it for Sprint 4. All right, thank you. Let me just do a refresh here to make sure we've caught. Okay, so it looks like that was the most recent ticket. So we've gotten up to date at least on the recent issues. We do have a number of stories that we haven't looked at in the past for kind of the bulk entry of some of the material for security and some of the material for alarms and PM support, I believe. So I don't think we'll have time to do that today. So we'll have, I got a frog in my throat, sorry. We'll have to take a look at some of that later. So with that, let me go back to the VOLTHA board and just do a quick refresh here. And we did just do status updates on Tuesday. So I don't want to spend a lot of time on that today. But if there's anything that folks on the group would like to call out for work that they've done that they need people to take a look at, things that are pending review in Garrett that they need someone to go take a look at, if you would point me to which issue, I can pull that up on the screen. We can take a quick look. Any particular issues of concern? Okay, it's a quiet group today. I think in that case, if no one wants to request that we review the status of the in-progress items again, I think probably this would be a good point to wrap up the call and give you about 15 minutes back today. Any questions or other items for discussion before we break for today? All right, I think that's it. And again, thank you to Adtran for the presentation at the start of the meeting and for the discussion from everyone. With that, I'll stop the recording and close today's meeting. Thanks.